my lessons are way too complex for people who are beginners. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start giving a couple beginner lessons here and there for music theory. It's not boring. This stuff is awesome. You just have to get through it. Now, here's the thing. Number one, I want to say off the bat, everybody teaches this stuff in such a weird way. They make it overly complex, and it's really not that hard. There's really not a lot to it, and there's not a lot of stuff that you have to learn. They seem to make it more difficult because they're attempting to adhere to a bunch of different ways of teaching or a bunch of different ways of talking about this. I'm a guitar player. I'm professionally on the guitar all the time, on stages, in recordings. I'm not just a guitar teacher, so maybe I have a slight advantage over a straight-up guitar teacher because of the practical application side where I have to apply it all the time, so I know what actually matters and what's going to make a difference. Number one, you need to know how to build a major scale, at least at first, and then later on, you're not going to think about building it, you're just going to be playing through it. But if you don't know how to build it, you're not going to really totally understand all the other stuff. So to get right down to business, a major scale is really easy to build. It's all whole steps, except for the 3rd to 4th note, that's a half step, and the 7th down to the 1st again, or up to the 8th, which is the 1st again, an octave, is a half step. What the hell does that mean? Okay, so a half step is this, 1 fret. So if you're on F, which is your 1st fret here, and I went up to an F sharp, that's a half step. Half step. This is a half step. B to C is a half step. E to F is a half step, all right? 1 fret is a half step. 2 frets is a whole step. Those are all whole steps, all right? Any string, whole step is 2 frets. So when I say it's made up of whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, then you know if I said start on E and make a major scale, a whole step is 2 frets, a half step is 1 fret. If I say play a whole step twice, then a half step, then all whole steps until the last note to the 1st again. You go like this. E, whole step, half step. That's the 3rd to the 4th note. Whole step, whole step, whole step, half step again to the end. All right, so you have 7 notes. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then that's it. And then it loops again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't have enough frets, but you get the right notes if I bend them. So, what does that mean? What the hell's the purpose of knowing this? Do you want to play Jingle Bells or some happy sound of music? No, it only sounds that way because you're assuming our tonal center is an E. All right, so if I did this, but I played a different tonal center, it would have a different sound. For instance, if I played the A major scale and I went... But while I did that, I played an F sharp tonal center. If I went like that, it went. Well, that's the same as. But the F sharp tonal center causes it to not sound like happiness. But I want you to understand that when I say we're going to do this major scale and it's like kind of dorky sounding, that's not the sound of the scale. That's just the sound of what you think the scale is. That's just those notes. If I play it in a different context, it does not sound like that happy, chipper little kid music. It's a totally different thing. But it's the same scale. So you have to learn that scale and understand it in order to do other things, right? So whatever the hell else you want to do, if you wanted to go... If you want to go, or that sort of stuff, which doesn't sound good on distortion at all, but you get the point. So even if you like rock music, or the blues, whatever the hell kind of music you like, you're still going to need the major scale. And you might hear all these different scale names and modes and all this crazy stuff. And you think, oh, there's obviously stuff more than what Alan's showing, or there's definitely more than what he knows. And I've systematically gone through and I've figured out everything there is to know about the major scale and about all these scales and all the chords in music. And I actually ran it through a computer program that I programmed myself. And that program output to me all the information that we will ever need. Pretty much about this stuff. You're going to be able to apply this stuff to your actual songs and music that you play. Even just jamming around, you'll be able to do this. So stick with me on this. Go through all of my Nerd Sessions lessons and have fun. Practice along with me. Play to the backing tracks I put in towards the end half of the video, or the end parts. I have a backing track that you jam along with. And that's how you really get this stuff learned. It's not, I could tell you 100 different things. It's not going to matter until you actually do it. You have to have fun and play it. All right. So if I'm showing you some weird chord, you want to probably try to play that chord. And then number 2, use it maybe in a song, either your own or use it as a substitution for someone's song. And then most of what we're talking about is how to improvise along with the chord. So even if you don't want to play the chord yourself, you want to play the scale, I'm telling you, or the group of scales, I'm telling you, to get a good sound out and see which sound you like the most. Do you like the major scale the way it is? Do you like it with an adjustment that I'm showing you in one of these videos? So you want to take your time, but have fun with it, and you're going to learn a lot more than doing it some other weird way where they're trying to show you all this 30 scale. There's basically, it's just a major scale, guys. I'm not trying to trick you. That's insane. You just play the major scale, and then after you learn that, there's just a couple adjustments, basically 4 adjustments that you would make. Or you could avoid notes and get whole entirely different sounds out of it. All right, so if you're avoiding notes of the major scale, you get this thing, which you've probably played a ton. The minor pentatonic is just a major scale. That's all it is. All right, now I'm not going to get into the details of it right now, but bear with me, take the lessons. So the first lesson today of what I was showing you is how to build a major scale. So you want to be able to do this on your own. And you want to be able to build it from any note. But I'm going to tell you, there are some things you might get caught up on. You just want to remember these simple rules. Whenever you're building a major scale, you have to use each letter name once, and you're only allowed to use them once. So that means you could just simply write down all the letter names and then put in the accidentals. What the hell is an accidental? It's a sharp or a flat. Now you can't use sharps and also flats in the same major scale. So you could use natural notes and sharps, or just natural notes, or you could use natural notes and flats. You don't want to have sharps and flats combined. That shouldn't be happening. There's something wrong if you're doing that. So if you, at least in your major scale. So if you're taking this and you say, Alan said we're going to make an E major scale. So your first step would be to just do your alphabet. Say E, F, G, and then back to A, B, C, D, and then the E would be your octave. And now you know those are definitely going to be the notes for each position of your scale. No doubt about it. It's E, F, G, A, B, C, D. But are any of them sharped or flatted? Well, we have to find out. What's a whole step above your E? Whole step above E is F sharp. So obviously we're going to have sharps in this thing, not flats. So F sharp is your first note there. But you might say, Alan, why can't I call that a G flat? Well, you can't in this particular case because I said we need each letter note name. We need an E and we need some kind of F. Now, if you already wrote down an F, you wouldn't have made that mistake because you already know that you have to have every letter name. So it's going to be an E of some sort, an F of some sort, a G of some sort is. So we have E, F sharp. Another whole step above that, the second note, is going to be your third note of the scale. That is going to be your G sharp. And a half step above the third goes to our fourth. That is going to be the A. A whole step above A is B. A whole step above B is C sharp. Now, if you're thinking, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. Shouldn't it be a C? No, because in music, we go from B directly to C as a half step. There's no B sharp pitch. It would be a C. It's the same note as a C. If you said B sharp, that means C. If you said C flat, that means B. All right, but it doesn't mean you can't use those terminologies because they do actually come up in certain rare circumstances. People don't really use them verbally anyway. You would just say the pitch of B or something like that. So if we had this B as our note, then the next note's going to be a C sharp. Then the next note a whole step up is D sharp. And then we're done, E. But we already had the E, so we know it's an octave. There's our E. So how do you practice this? Well, you want to do this, first of all, for your first time, just do it on every open string because you know it's going to be the same frets. And you might say, but Alan, I could do this easily. No problem. I memorized the frets. The only problem is I don't know the note names on this fretboard. I don't know what they are. All right. I would suggest using a fretboard diagram that tells you the note names anyway, just to check with yourself to make sure you're right. But when you're building the scale, you should know a whole step and a half step anyway, just from the fret. So you'll be able to play it before you even care about what those note names are, because you'll just go. And you'll just play your way through it using the fret whole step and half step system that I just gave you how to do this, which is important. You need to be able to visually do things on the guitar. I don't think about the note names that much. Most people don't. They pretend they do when they're teaching to try to force people to learn that way, which isn't horrible because you should know the note names. But when you're actually improvising, you're mostly going by interval recognition, either by ear or visually. At least that's how I do it, and I'm pretty good with the improv. And I have a feeling that a lot of other people do that I haven't talked with. The other great musicians that I've talked with share the same sort of thing that I'm talking about. They do the same sort of thing. So it's not horrible. Don't feel bad if you're just using fret numbers or getting used to playing by ear. That's great. You should have a good ear. If you can't play by ear, then I don't know what you're doing. That's probably the most important thing of music, is using your ear. All right, so going through all this stuff, you want to have fun with it. So instead of just going, Alan said I got to do this scale. It's so stupid, I got to spell them all out the notes. Have fun with it. Maybe do a melody. Realize that's your open note for your root. You go, make up your own little weird licks. You can tap them. And just do whatever you want with it. But keep in mind, you got to build these major scales. So if I was going to be a little strict person about this, and I said, hey, you got to do this the right way, I would say get yourself a paper and a pencil. Write down your scales. You want to do each one. But just for this lesson, go through the open strings. So it's going to be E, then B, then your G, then your D, then A. Make sure you're right by checking what I played. It's going to be these frets. So when you're done with your homework, you know it's going to be a whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And you say, Alan, is that the same for every major scale? Yes, it is. That's it. This is the end of your major scale, how to build one lesson. So now you know how to build one. And if you don't, go back and watch this again. You want to remember whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Have to use each letter name. Can't use it more than once. Can't mix sharps and flats. That's it. As long as you stick to those guidelines, you're going to be fine. And then you think, well, what the hell's the point of this? Why do I need to know this scale? It's going to be everything. You're going to see it. You're going to not only compare things to know what to name them, you're going to use this to improvise. You're going to use this to build other scales or to adjust one note to play other scales. They're going to sound a lot cooler than this straight up solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol stuff. So again, you have to do this. You do. It's not, and again, it's not that hard. A lot of people think, oh my God, I got to take time out to do this theory. It's going to ruin my creativity. That the only time you'd have a limited creativity is if you let that happen. It's not going to take over everything you do. Like if I'm playing the guitar and I like the sound of something, I'm not going to say, oh, I can't do that because it's not in the scale. God, no. If anything, you start to realize that scales really don't come into play as much as you thought they were going to. They're extremely important at first so you can learn other things and so you can apply a skeletal structure to what you have to do on the guitar. Well, the scale is going to happen more often than not. So you want to get that skeletal structure down over the fretboard. So guys, I hope you enjoy this little basic, very beginner lesson on the major scale. And I'll catch you in another lesson, only if you subscribe. And by the way, I didn't know you could even do this, but YouTube's got this thing now. There's a little bell down below here. And if you click that notification bell, you get notified whenever I upload another video. So I upload lick videos that are cool for you to play. Even if you know nothing about theory, you can still do that. It's fun. You could learn more about theory with the advanced lessons and the beginner ones that we're doing here with the nerd sessions. Also, I'm doing some product reviews and who knows what else. I'll do some crazy stuff. I have some cover songs up and original songs, and hopefully I'll get back to doing more originals and get my next album done. Thanks a lot, by the way. I appreciate everybody watching my videos and coming by. And after I see you guys commenting that you've been here for 10 years and more. And I know who a lot of you guys are. So I'm not one of those that are ignorant to their audience. I know a lot of you guys, and a lot of you guys are good guitar players, and you have fun doing your own videos, and you have been on here a while. All right. Anyway, I'm out. Have a good one. Bye.